Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Tuesday morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing well out there this morning, having a great start to your day and a fantastic week out there so far. I got you a pretty big update this morning, and we're really going to speak on many things, even outside the daily forecast. But of course, right at the beginning, basically the first half of the video, we will talk about what's going to happen weather-wise for today. And many things that's going to happen weather-wise for today will be part of the same system or systems that will affect your weather here in the coming days. So it's important to really tune in to what's going to happen today, just because it has a downstream effect of what's going to happen later in the week. But we will discuss that, get you guys aware of what's going to happen today weather-wise. And then for the second half of the video, we'll discuss a couple things. One being the Gulf low. It does have a chance to develop per the National Hurricane Center, but most likely will not. But there will be a Gulf low that comes out the far southern portions of the Gulf of Mexico, rises north, and brings a drenching rain to a lot of areas along the Gulf Coast, all the way up into portions of like South Carolina and certainly Florida. Could bring a severe weather threat to Florida here starting tomorrow into the next couple days. And then we're watching a system that is moving into the Pacific Northwest right now that will make its way across the entire length of the country and could bring a severe weather threat and also our first substantial snowstorm of the year for areas of the northern plains. So we're going to speak on all this in this video, get you guys some great details in this. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it, and if you folks got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. Let's get rolling here. So we'll kind of point out these features here on the water vapor loop. Make sure my clicker is doing well. It was having a hard time yesterday morning, could not use it, but it looks like we're good now. So that zonal flow that was offshore into the Gulf of Mexico that you can see screeching across the deep south states, this has actually moved a little bit further north, so this tells us that the moisture is beginning to creep back north. Now, it's still very comfortable out there for a lot of the southeast and the deep south, but the moisture is beginning to be on the increase across areas of the deep south. And there's two things driving this. Hurricane Lydia in the eastern Pacific, which is bringing a surge of moisture northeast all the way into South Texas. But then you can't see it on your screen, but down here I'll point to the area in the southern sections of the Gulf of Mexico. We have a Gulf low that is trying to develop right now and could become a pretty strong little low pressure that will bring some heavy rain to a lot of the deep south and Florida, the Gulf coastline especially. Several inches of rain could fall. And some of this rain will fall in some of these areas that really, really need the rain. You still got this low pressure up here in Canada that's really blocked. It can't really go anywhere. That's why we've mentioned it multiple times over the last couple of days. There's a ridging, basically a blocking high up further north in Canada and North America that's really blocking this from going anywhere. So eventually this will go somewhere, will fully dissipate, but you still have little pieces of energy that's flying around this low, and this energy is being enhanced off the Great Lakes. And we've just had, lake effect showers, not lake effect snow, not cold enough at the surface for that, but lake effect showers over the last few days. That'll be the same thing will happen today. We'll have lake effect showers throughout the Great Lakes region. And then if you look right here, it shows up decently well here on the corner of your screen. This is a system moving onshore. This will bring a lot of weather to the Pacific Northwest and just the Northwest, the Northern Rockies, just in general today. This entire region, I would say, right into here will experience just a lot of rain and very high elevation snow, and then some gusty winds also. So this will be our big system that will eventually make its way across the northern portions of the country, and we'll have to watch as a surface low develops, and then things get very dynamic after that, and we will talk about that. So that's what's going on the water vapor loop. I always like to show this for any new viewers. I know a lot of people think, Mitch, just get to the point. A lot of people, I'm sure, think that, but it's great to show kind of what's happening out there based off satellite and water vapor loop. It kind of helps us figure out what's driving these features and things like that. But if you compare it to the actual radar out there, what's falling from the sky, you can see this lake effect energy. Now, in a lot of areas that are showing green on top of your region, rain may not be falling, but there's definitely at least some sprinkles, some light rain out there in the UP of Michigan, maybe areas of extreme northeast areas of Wisconsin, some lake effect sprinkles, showers in western areas of Michigan coming off Lake Michigan. And then we have some energy flying over Lake Erie and Ontario. that's in western portions of New York State. Then we got that energy from that's basically moisture surging out ahead of Hurricane Lydia in south areas of southern areas of Texas. Now, this isn't fully because of the energy in the eastern Pacific, Lydia, but it's definitely being enhanced. So it's not 100% because of the moisture from the system in the eastern Pacific, but it's definitely, like I said, being enhanced because of it. And we've been just very rainy over southern areas of Texas. Extreme southern Texas has been very rainy, and this same kind of flow of moisture has been stretching across the Gulf of Mexico into Florida, but it definitely has not been as wet in Florida that we've seen like last week and that have been seeing in southern areas of Texas. But we have been seeing some downpours, some scattered showers in Texas. And then we got our big system entering the Pacific Northwest. And if you look at what actually is falling, a lot of rain falling already this morning, waking up to a very wet morning in western sections of Washington and Oregon and extreme northern sections of California. Some of this could be in the form of some gusty winds today, even some storm action. In fact, speak of the Storm Prediction Center, there's a general risk of thunderstorms from Seattle to Portland to Eugene, almost all the way down to Medford, Oregon. Okay, and then we have an area we watch out for central and western sections and southwestern sections of Montana, northwestern sections of Wyoming. Some of this could fall in the form of maybe some convective snow, very possible in areas of Idaho. General risk of storms, nothing severe, and we could have some pop-up activity ongoing in central sections of the country, and then some general risk of some storms here in southern Texas, southern Florida, and then the southern high plains. But no big deal today as far as severe weather. That may change here in the coming days. Excessive rainfall outlet, really the only thing we watch is going to be raining all day in southern sections of Texas, like the Brownsville area, even all the way up to Corpus Christi. Very wet day. There is at least a 15% risk of flash flood guidance being met down here. So flooding could be a concern, especially later on today. It's been raining a lot down here. Eventually, this rain will ride up the coastline of Texas into Louisiana and then begin to take over most of the Gulf states in the southeast. As far as watches and warnings, still dealing with freeze warnings up here in the northern half of Minnesota and then eastern areas of North Dakota. Now, what I want you to watch, watch also, is the winter storm watches up here for areas of Wyoming, especially these higher elevations, even in the Black Hills of, western areas of South Dakota. This is ahead of a winter storm we are most likely going to get in this area. Now, how much snow is going to fall? We will get very detailed tonight as we will really focus in on all the features ongoing, but we're going to get detailed in this video too, so just hold tight with me. But there is winter storm watches up, and then we got some freeze watches up for areas of the western U.S., some dense fog advisories. We're dealing with some thick fog up here in eastern and northeastern areas of Maine. So let's talk about the southeast first. Overall today, pretty quiet, same kind of pattern that we've been dealing with. Maybe some sprinkles in North Carolina as possible today. We get into this evening. You can see these storms starting to erupt here in the Gulf of Mexico, not bothering anybody but the fish and the surface of the ocean out there. But we continue to move forward. A lot of moisture begins to build. Okay, I'm showing you this for a reason, just because this is the kind of the beginning stages of a lot of rain that's going to fall across the Gulf states. Now we're getting into about midnight, 11 p.m. tonight. Moisture begins to ride on shore to the coastal regions of Louisiana, takes over the bayou, New Orleans. It'll start off as just some light rain in the overnight hours. Then we're waking up tomorrow morning with just an all-out light to moderate rain taking over most of the coastal sections of Texas. Rain is falling in all of southern Louisiana, and the rain is beginning to creep into like Gulfport, Mobile, Alabama, Gulfport, Mississippi, and some rain beginning to enter in the picture in extreme western sections of the panhandle of Florida. But look at all this moisture beginning to bubble up. Now, you see all this kind of orange, red, yellows. This is in the form of storms. And just because areas of Florida, don't want to get too ahead of myself, but areas of Florida will be on the lower side, the southern side of this low, you're going to have some ingredients for severe weather, especially the west coast of Florida coming up tomorrow into Thursday, I really do think. But the rest of the southeast, pretty quiet today. Now the northeast, still dealing with the influence of this low up in Canada. So we're going to have a lot of lake effect rain, not snow, lake effect rain here on the eastern coastline, eastern sections of Lake Erie. Even some lake enhanced energy off of Lake Ontario. We could have some downpours that fly, maybe even storms, maybe a rumble of thunder later on this morning for areas of southeast Mass, maybe even Rhode Island, maybe Connecticut, just Massachusetts in general. Some downpours could sweep through. More might develop later on this afternoon. Watch out, Boston could get an isolated downpour. But look at this rain, it's just persistent. It looks like a lake effect snow band, but it's rain. It looks like one of those bands that will drop a foot and a half of snow on you in a 24-hour period. And if it was snow, it would. But we get into this evening, it's still got energy flying over this region. And then we're waking up tomorrow morning with just still some showers just drifting over portions of New York State. You get a closer look at this lake effect band. Buffalo right in here, just south of Buffalo. And the lake effect snow belt right in here. This is just rain. But today, I mean, inch and a half of rain could fall in a very small little area. Okay, right here south of Buffalo, right in these communities. Could get a lot of rain, just persistent rain all day today. So, man, if it was November, if we were 1 month out from right now, this could be snow. It could be. South central U.S., most of the area is quiet. Now, we could get some storm action in Missouri later today. Maybe just some heavy downpours in northern sections of the state of Missouri. And then we could wake up to some rain in St. Louis tomorrow. But the big story is down here. And we'll go on and just get a closer look at you folks. And here's that moisture surge. You already have a connection from Lydia. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I believe it's Lydia, L-I-D-I-A in the Eastern Pacific. It's not Lydia, I know that. I think it's Lydia. I looked up the punctuation chart from the Eastern Pacific, and I believe that was how you pronounce it. But anyways, I know somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. And definitely no hard feelings for that whatsoever. I definitely need y'all's help sometimes. Starting off this morning, you're dealing with the rain. You will continue to deal with the rain down here in southern areas of Texas. As we make our way later in the afternoon this evening, the rain will gradually, very slowly creep further north, but it really takes that Gulf low, which is a different source of energy and moisture than the Lydia in the Eastern Pacific. This will help enhance and really push a plume of rain further north, which eventually takes over areas of those Gulf states. But we're starting to get into later tonight. Rain starts to creep into the Houston area. And then we're getting all the way into tomorrow morning. And then it looks like the rain is beginning to end here in southern areas of Texas, but still raining along the coastal regions of Texas, Corpus Christi, up to Houston, everybody in between. So rainfall between now and the next 24 hours. I mean, 1 to 2 inches of additional rain could fall, down here in southern Texas. All these communities in southern Texas could get a lot of rain. I don't know how much rain you guys have already got. I know it's been rainy over the last few days, but more rain definitely going to fall today. Rain already falling this morning. Expect more rain throughout the next 24 hours. Now, up here in the north central U.S., still dealing with this low. Same weather that's influencing areas of the Northeast will influence the UP of Michigan. So just some cold showers today in areas of the UP, northern Michigan. Some of these I wouldn't be surprised, spit out some very small hail. Happens a lot when you have these cold low pressures and a lot of cold air aloft that's really close by. So don't be surprised if you get little pellets of ice. Might be some small hail in this case. And these will continue just to drift through. We get into later tonight. These might try to get a little bit further west into deeper into western areas of the UP. But most of this will fall in the eastern areas of the UP of Michigan today. Then we're waking up tomorrow morning, kind of the same deal. So most of the weather in the north central U.S. will remain really in Michigan today. So out west, a big storm moving in. This storm will impact a lot of the country. First, though, it's going to work its way from the west to the east, so it's going to start in the west. And here you go, a lot of rain moving onshore. We're getting into this afternoon. Look at these more heavier spurts of rain here in western Montana. This will have a chance to, happen in the form of storms. You could see some flashes of lightning, rumbles of thunder. And as this system moves onshore, the snow levels begin to drop. Not substantially, but somewhat. So you start to see more blue coming up on your map in some of these higher elevations of Oregon, even Washington State. But look at this. As we're getting into tonight, some heavier areas of rain begins to move in as some more convective in nature energy. But look, as these snow levels begin to drop in Idaho, start to get some of this heavy rain turn to heavy snow. And we're waking up tomorrow morning with just a lot of activity going on in the northern Rockies. and the snow levels dropping in areas of Montana, Idaho, and you still just have a funnel of energy. In fact, a third system moves in, and it just continues. It's definitely getting active here. A little bit closer look at all this rain this morning starting off. This is moving in. A lot of heavy rain will continue, especially for the western areas of Washington State, Oregon, northern areas of California. This is getting into about 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and this is around lunchtime in Western time. This is always in Eastern time. And might get some breaks here and there, but then some heavier activity might move in later this afternoon into this evening. And this is when it can get really heavy. I mean, you could have some localized flooding. It's possible. But man, just rounds. We're getting into about 9 p.m. We're getting into about midnight. And then waking up tomorrow morning, it's just still dealing with these heavy rounds of rain in western areas of these states. And, you look at the wind gusts between now and tomorrow morning, it's going to be very breezy. Some stronger wind gusts. You could get some wind gusts pushing 25 to 40 miles per hour in certain areas. Very windy day in Seattle, down to Eugene, Portland, very windy, very fall, breezy-like day. But at some certain points, you're probably going to see some heavy rain. This isn't going to be your nice light to moderate rain you get on a fall-like day. I mean, this could be in the form of some heavier rain, some storms. But definitely some strong winds working their way onshore into the Pacific Northwest, that's for sure. Rainfall between now and the next 24 hours. A lot of rain. I mean, 2 to 4 inches of rain could fall in the western sections of Washington and Oregon. Okay, you look at snow too. Snow starts to gradually pile up. And, well, hold on. Let me make sure I got this right here. Here we go. Snow starting to kind of pile up in these very high elevations. I mean, you got to get way up. It's very splotchy. So you got to get several thousand feet up to start to get some of this heavy snow. But it's certainly piling up as we're getting into the cold season for these higher elevations, as we're getting the snowpack back in place. Temperatures will start off in the eastern U.S. It's beautifully colored from north to south, meaning the warm air is in the south. The pleasant air is right in the middle, and the chilly air is up north. So a chilly day for the Great Lakes region, the Ohio Valley, areas in the Mid-South, the Midwest, the Mississippi Valley. I mean, pretty pleasant conditions. There's a boundary in place in the 60s and 70s. You get down to the Deep South and the Southeast, the 80s are returning. Nothing too outrageously hot or anything like that, but you got the warm, moist air certainly returning. It's still early October, early to mid-October, so you still can get these 80s. People always ask me, Mitch, are we done with the 80s? If you live in the Southeast, you ain't never done with the 80s. You can hit 80 degrees in January. Now, you start to get a little bit further north, and that's almost out the question. But if you live in the Deep South, the South Central U.S., and the Southeast, I mean, it's hit the low 80s here in January before here in Columbia. All right, so it can happen. We're never quite done with the 80s, unfortunately. You got to move a little bit further north. Western U.S., high plains, I mean, pretty warm. What's wild is you got a major winter storm that's going to be happening in some of these areas. It'll get up into the 60s, maybe low 70s today. All right, so a totally different atmosphere will take over here in the coming days, which is what we're about to talk about. So enjoy these warm days across the high plains. Warming up in the southwest, a little bit cooler in the northwest just because of this system moving onshore. So let's talk about what's to come. We'll give you a brief update on the tropics. We do have Invest 92L. Not going to do anything, but go out to sea. Could become a tropical depression here in the next couple of days. But this is our Gulf low. This is Invest 93L. This will have a chance to develop, but it's looking like it's going to get involved with a frontal boundary, and just it's going to run out of time. And it's just the conditions for development are very marginal, but we've seen weirder stuff happen. So we will need to watch as this creeps northward. Doesn't have time, especially in this region right in here, to develop. I don't think this is a concern. I think that the most high-end scenario you get is a weak tropical storm. But right now, this is going to be an impactful system because it's going to bring a lot of heavy rain, even some gusty winds, some severe weather. But I don't think we're going to get a hurricane out of this by any means. But I want to show you the two features, okay? You see this. I'm going to try to draw on this really quick. This is obviously a Lydia. It's a Category 1 hurricane in the Eastern Pacific. If you look at the rich moisture feed that's going all the way up into South Texas, it's got a moisture feed from Lydia. But at the same time, you see all this convection right here in this region. This is the kind of what's going on with our Gulf low. So this will move in very slowly, but before this moves in, okay, and we got plateaus and higher elevations in Mexico that will completely rip this system apart. But before this gets into the area fully, this Gulf low will ride up into this region and bring a lot of rains. And by the time what's ever left of this, the remnants of this, moves in, a lot of it will be dissipated, but this will only help enhance the moisture free. So this is what's kind of going on as far as the Gulf moisture that we're expecting and what's kind of driving it, if you will. But if you look at the GFS, you can see the Gulf low here, and then the leftovers of Lydia will come into the picture. Here comes the Gulf low, latest GFS, brings a big plume of moisture into the Gulf states, the southern areas. Like if you live along the actual Gulf Coast, that's where the most heaviest rain is going to fall. So this continues to move northward. This is getting into tomorrow afternoon, and the rain shield will be tight. There will be a tight gradient in place, but the people who do get rain will see a good bit of it. It's just trying to figure out how far north this rain is going to get. But this continues to take over the southeast. We're getting into the middle of the night, Wednesday night into Thursday morning, and then this heads on out into the North Atlantic. And that's all she wrote. But kind of a closer look at this. If you do go back and look at this, Lydia doesn't do a whole lot. All it does is bring up some more rains to maybe areas of Texas, but it doesn't do a whole lot. Now, is this kind of what forms right in here, the leftover of Lydia? Hard to tell. Could be because of this frontal boundary, but we'll certainly see what's going to happen. All right, we keep moving. Another way to look at this is the latest 48-hour HRRR model. This will give us a better idea how this is going to set up. You can see all the moisture bubbling up. We're getting into Wednesday morning. Rain is beginning to take over some of these drought-stricken regions. How far north does it get into like kind of southwest areas of Mississippi that really is under a big-time drought? It's a big question. We're hoping it gets further north. I can tell you that the short-range model guidance is liking the idea of this rain being a little bit farther north than some of these global models. So I would say that's good news for people who really need the rain, and a lot of people in the Deep South do. But look at all these storms down here in the Gulf of Mexico. The Deep South, obviously along the Gulf Coast, seeing a lot of rain. This is getting into tomorrow afternoon. This really begins to take over. But man, look at this tight gradient. Jackson, Mississippi will be a great example of a city that will be right on the tight gradient of hardly no rain and an appreciable amount of rain. But we really need this rain down here. But this rain really begins to ride up as the Gulf low really takes more of a northeast movement and begins to take over most of Georgia. I would say 60-70% of Alabama. And then by the time we're getting into tomorrow evening, rain begins over to take over, like I said, most of Georgia, most of South Carolina. But look at these storms down here, and almost called Florida, Texas, and Florida. There's some big storms showing up here, down here in Florida, into the overnight hours, and then we're gonna have to probably wake up and deal with it Thursday morning into Thursday afternoon again with some big time storms will start to ride through. But we're still dealing with this heavy rain even into Wednesday evening, into the overnight hours of Wednesday night into Thursday morning. All right, so we continue to look at this as far as how much rain could potentially fall. And forgive me, the dog that we're dog sitting for is behind my chair snoring now. And must be passing gas too, because it just got a whiff of a really nasty smell. So just a dog farting in his sleep. So no worries there. But we continue to keep going. South Texas, a few inches of rain is likely between now and Thursday evening, and a ½ inch to an inch of rain is possible along the extreme areas of the Texas coastline. Okay, we move a little bit further east, and like I said, Jackson right in here, there is a sharp rainfall gradient. If you're down here to the southern sections of Mississippi, 2 to 3 inches of rain could fall. The Bayou of Louisiana, 2 to 3, maybe 3.5 inches of rain could fall. New Orleans, Baton Rouge, man, but you get into central Mississippi, we need to rain up here. We're going to hope that this trends further north, but there is a tight rainfall gradient. I mean, Meridian's a big example. Meridian might be on the rainy side of this, but you go like an hour north, not a whole lot of rain potential. Southern Alabama, the southern half of Alabama, going to get a lot of rain. A soaking, drenching rain. Western Panhandle, all the Panhandle of Florida, a lot of rain. and then we make our way into, let's say, South Carolina, and this will include parts of Georgia too. There's going to be a big rainfall gradient in South Carolina. I'm going to talk about you folks in Florida too. Big rainfall gradient in South Carolina. For example, I'm right here in Columbia, South Carolina. I mean, could get only a quarter inch of rain, could get an inch of rain. But you go into the low country of South Carolina between now and Saturday morning, a lot of rain could fall, 2 to 3 inches of rain. And then we take a look at our folks in Florida, which will include southern areas of Georgia. Man, South Georgia might be the hot spot for a lot of rain, 3 to 4 inches of rain. Central, northern Florida, 2 to 3 inches of rain between now and Saturday morning. This is going to be a soaker. We'll get more detailed on the severe weather threat for Florida probably this evening. But what I can tell you going forward, this is for tomorrow, for Wednesday, there is a marginal risk of severe weather for the West Coast and the Big Bend regions of Florida. And then we have a marginal risk of severe weather with this system moving in to the Pacific Northwest now for severe weather, also with a moisture return, with a little bit of ingredients for severe weather. But I can tell you, there's already a 2% risk of a tornado, which is not uncommon at all on the southern and southeast flanks of these low pressures for a tornado. 2% risk of a tornado. This includes Tampa Bay, down to Fort Myers, into the Big Bend region. Okay, so already a tornado risk up. So we'll see if this increases. But this system moving in, guys, here it is. Well, actually, it's already moved in. So this is our system right into here. Hard to see. Big time upper trough, digging down. All right, so this is already getting into Thursday, which I think will be the bigger severe weather day. For Thursday, we got this exit region of this mid-level jet right here. This is going to bring plenty of lift, plenty of forcing, plenty of wind energy for severe weather right into here. You can see the surface low developing right into here. This is going to help aid in the moisture levels at the low levels, effecting northward all the way up into Iowa. Moisture levels will not be high, but this is our system right here. This jet right here will be the main contributor for as far as an ingredient for severe weather. But this will continue. We got to watch Friday too. What's going to happen with this Friday? It's a big question. But this is our system right here, bringing a lot of wind energy. Now you talk about thermodynamic with dew points. When that surface low develops, it helps pull up this moisture from the Gulf, which we have a lot of moisture in the Gulf right now, just because of those two systems I just talked about. So this brings a lot of moisture that surges northward all the way up into eastern areas of Nebraska, southern areas of Iowa. Now, I say a lot of moisture. I'm not talking about dew points in the 70s, but for this time of the year, yeah. I mean, you got dew points in the 60s, dew points in the upper 50s. This could support severe weather in this region for Wednesday, but really we start to get into Thursday, and I think there will be a better moisture return that's basically all the way from the coastal regions of Texas all the way to almost like Omaha, Nebraska. All right, kind of a pool of moisture of dew points well into the low 60s, and that is supportive for severe weather. Not super supportive, but certainly supportive. Okay, and then we'll have to watch Friday into like Illinois. I would watch, but right now there's no, there is a mention, but there's no like category risk or anything like that. But we will watch Friday too, a little bit deeper into the Midwest. I want to mention the snow threat too. Okay, as this surface low develops, you get heavy precipitation that gets going. We get into Thursday afternoon. Look at this heavy rain falling in the Rockies, especially northern areas of Colorado, southern sections of Wyoming. A lot of heavy snow. You got to watch out, really, anybody in this area, for a lot of snow to fall. I really think the snow levels will drop. So even areas in like lower, I mean, there's not a whole lot of lower elevations. There's plateaus in Wyoming and, you know, areas of eastern sections of Colorado. But, you know, as far as elevation speaking, it's pretty high up regardless. But the snow levels begin to drop and some heavy snow. And then look at the Black Hills. You see this little splotch of blue? That's not there at random. There's higher elevations because of the Black Hills and western areas of South Dakota that do extend into a very small section of kind of northeast Wyoming. I think this could be a jackpot region, but look at this heavy snow falling in areas of east central and northern areas of Wyoming with these higher elevations. And I think some snow could fall and mix with, as we're getting into Thursday night, Friday morning, to areas of western Nebraska. I think it's very possible. We need to figure this one out, but I can tell you out the European ensemble, this is how much snow they're showing through early next week. Look at the Black Hills. You know, good for 8 to 12 inches of snow, I think. All right, but you see all this snow falling, not only in Yellowstone National Park in this area of higher elevations in northern Wyoming, but, you know, maybe some of the more flatter regions of Wyoming, the plateau regions. What I'm saying is you don't have to be on a mountain peak to get snow with this setup. We're getting deeper into the year. Could we get some snow down in Denver? It's possible. We got to figure that one out. But this will be our first substantial snowstorm of the northern plains, northern Rockies of the fall season. So that's all I got. Hope that helps. A solid chance I will get a video out this evening, but I wanted to get as detailed as possible this morning just in case I can't. But that's all I got. God bless all y'all. Have a great Tuesday, and I'll talk to you soon.